Hi everyone, my name is Adam from Chimera Studio, and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you two techniques that I believe fundamentally define the quality and usability of a character created for games or animation. The first one is Retopology, more specifically, a very deliberate polygroup-based approach. And the second is how we rig this character in a coup rig, and why making the right decisions already during the retopo phase results in a visibly better final outcome. The goal of this video is not to present a single, holy grail solution, but to help you understand the underlying logic. Once you see how this works, you'll be able to easily adapt this workflow to your own projects, whether you're working on an indie game, a real-time character, or even a cinematic pre-production. What is this video about? First, we'll focus on Retopology. I'll show you how I approach this process in ZBrush with special attention to which areas of a character are truly critical, why it matters where and how many edge loops you place, how I use masks and polygroups, and how distortion can be minimized already during the retopo phase. After that, we'll move on to a coup rig where we'll look at how the character import works, which points must always be checked before rigging, what kind of issues poor or under-optimized topology causes during motion, and finally, how much better the result is with the exact same rig when the retopo is done properly. Retopology, Principles, why good topology matters. Let's start with the basics. Retopology is not simply about having fewer polygons. The real goal is to place polygons exactly where they are needed. In the case of a character, the most important areas are always those that deform, joints, bends, are in strong emotional or visual focus, face, head, or frequently appear close to the camera. That's why, for example, a face needs far more edge loops than the middle of a thigh. Not because it looks nicer, but because facial expressions, lip movement, and subtle deformations around the eyes demand it. Maskng and POLYGRUPS, deliberate separation. The first step in my workflow is masking the most important areas of the character, such as eye area, mouth, nose, jaw, shoulder girdle, elbows, knees. I then separate these masked areas into distinct polygroups. This is a crucial step because it allows ZBrush tools to work in a much more controlled way. Once the polygroups are in place, I use the smooth group brush to straighten and clean up the edges. The major advantage of this approach is that edges don't collapse, unnecessary distortion is avoided, and the topology becomes readable already at this stage. This is especially critical if the character is going to be animated or rigged later. Separating the character, why cutting it apart is not a problem. Many artists are afraid of cutting their character into pieces, but the reality is that this almost never becomes visible in the final result. In this workflow, I explicitly separate every limb into its own subtool, split the torso, head, arms, and legs, and retopologize each of them individually using Z-remesher. This not only results in cleaner topology, but also gives you far more control. You don't have to compromise the entire body just because of one problematic arm. It's important to note that in games or animation, seams will not be visible, since skinning and shading naturally hide them. ZRMSHER, key settings. When working with Z-remesher, there are a few settings that should almost always be enabled. Half, to reduce the polygon count. Detect edges, to preserve sharper forms. Keep groups, if you are working with polygroups, for example on the face or in joint areas. Keep groups is especially important because it ensures that Z-remesher respects the structure you've intentionally created, instead of blending everything together. EXPORTNG to ACCURIG. Once the retopology is finished, the next step is exporting the character to a coup rig. This is where good and bad decisions immediately become obvious. In a coup rig, you need to define joint positions, correctly place shoulders, elbows, knees, and hips, and thoroughly Check everything before starting the rigging process. If you skip this step, the final result becomes unpredictable. Showing the problems, what happens with too few edge LOPS. In the video, I deliberately demonstrate what happens when there aren't enough edge loops in critical joint areas. Elbows bend in a blocky way. Shoulders collapse. Knees break instead of bending smoothly. This is not an ACU rig issue, it's a topology issue. That's exactly why I kept ZBrush open, so I could clearly illustrate the difference. Fixing the issue, ADDING extra edge LOPS. We go back to ZBrush and add extra edge loops to the critical bending areas. Refine the edge flow. And export the character again. Then we repeat the exact same steps in ACU rig. Checking joint markers. Generating the rig. Testing the motion. The difference is immediately visible. The movement becomes much smoother and more natural. A note on complex CHRECTRS. It's important to point out that this workflow is completely viable even for complex characters, such as armored heroes. In these cases, the torso topology doesn't necessarily need to be preserved. Certain parts can simply be merged. Armor elements can be treated as separate objects. This provides a huge amount of flexibility from an optimization standpoint. Pro tip, visual PRORITES in GMES. In games, there's a very important but often overlooked question. What does the player see the most? A general priority order looks like this. 1. Head. 2. Torso. 3. Hands. 4. Legs. From the waist up, the character receives increasingly more visual attention. This doesn't mean that legs shouldn't be detailed. It means that, from an optimization standpoint, you can make conscious trade-offs with time, budget, energy. This doesn't replace quality work. It helps you prioritize it. Summary. So the workflow looks like this. Deliberate retopology. Proper edge loop placement. Correct Z-remesher settings. Precise checking inside ACU rig. Testing and comparison. Personally, this is the workflow I recommend to anyone working on game-ready or animation-ready characters. Thank you for watching the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and drop a like if you found the content useful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious about your experience and what topics you'd like to see next. We'll meet again soon with another special trick. And don't forget, creating is joy. Allow yourself to experience that joy. Take care. See you next time.